Hi there. My name is Krista Sano Davenport, and I have written 3 children's books. They're more like middle grade, and they're all about the little people, which are elementals of the forest. And the first one I'd like to show you is See the Little People, an Enchanting Adventure. And I have illustrated it as well. There's 7 people in the family, and they are all elementals. You can call them fairies. Their wings are like etheric energy, and they transform. They live in a hollow of a tree, and their skin will resemble the color of the bark on trees. Because they're one with all nature. This was dedicated to my father. And here are some of the images. This is Trinity. And that's Deekadoo. And I painted these. These are all acrylic paintings that were put in here. That's Dopey the dolphin. That is Deekadoo's best friend. And this is Hollow Tree. He is the friend and now home of the little people. And you'll have to find out why and how that happened. That's Cheppy and Trinity. And then the little people meet a little boy named Arthur. There's Trinity again. Trinity has a little imaginary friend who is always with her, and you'll read about her as well in the story. There's Arthur speaking with Den, the wise oak tree. And Den is my father, actually. I made the tree out of my father. So this is a magical fantasy, and it does teach children a lot about the power that's within them. And those are Corrigan nymphs, and they're beautiful by day and ugly by night. There's one of them. That's Ivy. She's with Arthur. And that's the magical forest. Here is the little people having their dinner. Of course, they eat nuts and vegetables and fruits and some weird things that you would never expect. Only that little people eat. They like to teach about the natural laws of the universe or of nature. And there is Evening, the other nymph, Corrigan nymph. And Benaway, which is one of the males in the family, and Grandpa Foster, they're on a journey. They need help for some reason, and you'll find out why. But they do go to find some trolls. Grandpa has friends in this little land, and he needs Lesky the troll's help. And there they are, and they find out what's going on, and they're a little surprised. There he is. He's an alchemist. And these are changeling children. And the Corrigan nymphs keep them. They have a bunch of children that they've kept. And you'll find out why as well. And here is a little goblin that Benaway has to make a deal with. In other words, Deekadoo and Arthur, they become best friends. And you will see the exchange that happens near the end. And that's Arthur and his family. And those are my other two books. And let me read the synopsis. It's not going to be a complete synopsis. It won't reveal the entire story, but it'll give you an idea of what the book is about. So, The Little People, which is called See the Little People, An Enchanting Adventure, Book 1, is focused on the little person Deekadoo, who meets a human boy. The elemental fairies are not supposed to interact with humans. It is a rule. Although Deekadoo's curiosity manifests his desire, and he accidentally meets Arthur, a human boy, in his forest neighborhood. Arthur is an angry kid, starting on a path of trouble until he gets lost in the same forest and is taken on an adventure that changes his perspective about life. They learn on the way from Dopey the dolphin and Den the wise oak tree. Trinity, the other child little person, and her imaginary friend Ellery follow them secretly when Arthur gets tricked into going away with beautiful maiden nymphs that are not so beautiful at night. They have their own agenda to turn Arthur into a changeling child. Out of fear, he is the same Arthur in the folklore legend. The Corrigan nymphs do not want a king to take away their power. Trinity flies to the family, and yes, tattles. However, she is a very crystal clear thinker with keen awareness, so she felt she had no choice. Even though the Little People family are not happy Deekadoo involved himself with this human boy, they embark on an adventure to save Arthur. They also wonder if he is a real king, where they confide in an alchemist troll and his wife with hairy toes that gives advice on how to confront the beautiful nymphs. Will they succeed? Not without a lesson and a reveal in the end, but intend to get Arthur back to his human family safe. Snagwood Thicket is a dark side of the forest, and it is forbidden to go into. At the same time, good can always come out of the bad if you find a way. Much more fun goes on in the story as the adventure unfolds. I also have an audiobook with sound effects and music that goes with the story. I will play some excerpts of the audiobook just to give you a taste of it. Thanks for watching. Section 1. True happiness is a state of mind and must come to you through the recognition of your own power and the finding of your own place in the world. Venice Bloodworth, Key to Yourself. The sun shone brightly, and all the trees cheerfully danced as if their leaves outstretched to heaven. It was a pleasant and solemn afternoon, and in the distance it appeared that a little yellow butterfly landed on a stone upon the earth. Yet if you could really see, you would not second guess what you were actually looking at. Trinity was meditating on a rock, feeling the warmth of the sun as the heat sweltered the surface. She was waiting for Deekadoo to come around the corner with all flares blazing behind him from the sight she had seen earlier, and what a sight it was. She knew at any minute he would be flying out of the forest in need of help. In a web, twisted and tangled, break the weave or risk a strangle. Tighten taut you might not free. unless you choose more carefully. He just doesn't listen. He needs to hear what his inside voice is telling him, but he doesn't listen. The Deet is going to be in big trouble. Listen to what your heart is telling you. Listen and you'll know. It answers what you can't decide. Be open, let it flow. What Trinity did not realize was that Deekadoo did listen, even though what had happened this day is not what it seems. Section 4. Sounds of bells, dings, and roars of thunder blasted from a television. Turn it down! Hearing over all the noise was impossible as another hollered loud. Suddenly, Arthur's bedroom door swung open wildly. Will you please shut that off? Did you finish your homework? Arthur's little sister Arlene walked under their mother's arm and through the doorway to his room. No, Mom, he didn't do his homework. He's been playing video games all night and all morning. Get out of here, Arlene, Arthur shouted. I want this room cleaned. Pack your homework in your backpack. We are going to the woods for a picnic, and you can work on your homework there. I'm not finished with my game, and my friends are coming over. Oh, yes, you are finished. Your homework comes first. Arthur's dad walks in the room. I am grounding you from your computer, from your games, and your friends. You are spending time with your family today. I hate picnics, Arthur snapped under his breath. Arthur's mother heard him and was very concerned at his words and actions. She was beginning to feel at a loss. He has become so distant towards his family, and his grades were failing at school. She thought over and over what was becoming of him and why. We tried to give him everything he ever wanted. She was concerned with his peers and the environment that was having a huge influence on his behavior. Section 5. Deekadoo started his journey back home through the forest when he began to repeat over and over in his head, I wish I were big. I wish I were big. What would it be like to be big? Deekadoo knows that he has the power to make himself big in an eye's blink, but not in the way you think. All of a sudden, he heard footsteps. It sounded like someone was following him, so he made himself look like a part of the forest. Now, because the little people blend in with the trees, they are almost impossible to be noticed by the naked human eye. Sometimes they choose at will to become translucent to their surroundings. He was not paying attention and found himself flying through the snagwood thicket. It wasn't long before he realized where he had ended up, that something else distracted him. There is a boy who can't see that I'm right behind the tree. Lucky for me. Open, open, veil so thin, I call upon the fairykin. Doot daddle deet daddle doot dot day. Deet daddle doot daddle deet dot day. This I sing with merry glee. Gateway open, I have the key. What began to appear looked like the vapor of heat, and Trinity flew through. A pixie fluttered hello, and a brownie spied from his window. Trinity explored the joys of her surroundings. The ash and the thorn trees gave a message to say hello to Den, and the willow swayed her branches in the wind. There were rowan and holly and elder trees, all sacred to the fairies. A spirit of each withdrew from their trunks to tell us the whispers of the kingdom. They all are aware of a boy and a dragonfly that were traveling through the snagwood thicket with danger nearby. We are just passing through to reach the wise oak tree in Deekadoo. Prince Toad and his ascendants waved goodbye. Trinity flew for a while with Ellery nigh, leaving out of his helm and into the enchanted realm. The girls enjoyed the birds singing and feeding their young. The bees and butterflies were talking to the flowers as she watched all the little animals playing hide and seek. The liveliness of the forest was a sign they were getting close to the home of Den. Ellery, Den is the wisest and oldest tree of the oak, even older than Hollow and his tree folk. Grandpa Foster introduced us to Den when we first became acquainted with the enchanted part of the woods. Den has been a part of our friendship for many years. That is understood, and we can always count on him to go out on a limb. I am his little sapling. Following along unnoticed, she stopped herself when she heard Deekadoo's voice. Relieved, she could now relax, knowing she found him. He was communicating to a human boy who seemed to be upset, lost or something. She heard Den, the wise oak tree, explain the way out of the forest. Before the wood nymphs see the boy, Deekadoo was to lead the way. The Corrigans are whom Grandma calls the wood nymphs, Trinity said. They live near the waterfall, and she tells the story of a foreign man to whisper this name. He laid his eyes upon one of the maidens, never to be seen again. This part of the forest has been our home, and since we have lived here, the whispers and songs about the Corrigans is something the humans would not be aware. If by mistake a mortal should take a detour, he had better hope the day was sunny, or forever be enchanted by their charm and allure, especially when they are fresh out of milk and honey. Section 10. While back in the Corrigan's home, Arthur fell asleep. The wood nymph maidens sat beside him, sipping their brew and pondering all the ways they can use this boy. Smiling and grinning, they watched him breathe peacefully. Rest, dear Arthur, Evening said. Rest for the night. Arthur woke from a bad dream. He felt he turned into a creature that wandered the forest, and now he remembered he never liked the forest. Maybe this was something he feared, or something inside him he had to change. Maybe the creature he dreamt of was the reflection of himself in the mirrored lake. The sweet scent of citrus and flowers instantly calmed him. One of the nymphs saw him awake and knelt beside where he lay. Now, Arthur, you just had a bad dream. Evening smiled. How could anyone be so beautiful, Arthur thought. You know, I had really better go home. I bet the police are out looking for me. My parents have got to be so upset that I am missing. Oh, I am sure they know how much you are a grown-up boy. Anyway, you didn't even like being out of your bedroom. You'll be happy here. How do you know that? Arthur cried. Now, Arthur. We know all about you, and we know why you have finally come. Arthur begins to appreciate his family, reminiscing the time he spent with them. He started to miss them without allowing himself to feel helpless. What do you want with me? He shouted. Why are you keeping me here? I have had my drink, and I have rested. Now I demand you let me go home. He heard Ivy's voice from a distance. Do not fret, Arthur. All will be well, you'll see.